Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see you here in these great numbers. When I came here 4 years ago, I was really coming here with the intention to improve the business, and I, at that point, really thought that after 2-3 years, I would have done my job and moved to another location. I'm now in the 5th year altogether. And I think it's fair to say that every year has been different, every year has been challenging. And I think, in all this time that I have been spending, at Ventspils nafta terminals, there has been never a dull moment. Every day is different, every day bears a lot of challenges. So, this being said, I'm going to touch a little bit, on the challenges and what we have been doing in the last year. There's been numerous areas which we have been focusing on. This also has been a little bit of a year for reflection for us. So we were, looking a little bit back to see and do a little bit of sound check of, evaluating, where we are going. As to the company itself, the infrastructure as such has not changed. We're still located on 105 hectares in Ventspils. Via pipeline, via rail tank cars. In order to facilitate this, we have one live pipeline connection, which is operated by Lars. And in parallel, we have 3 railway unloading stations, for different types of products, depending on where they are stored in the tank farm. We are fully automated. That has been achieved a couple of years ago. So we operate the whole facility from one central control room. And as to the products that we handle, obviously in the past we did crude. That's not the case anymore. So for the time being, we are limited to gas oil, which is the majority of the products that we're handling, and the balance is gasolines. As to the people, we are now, at with a number of staff of 286. That number has gradually gone down a little bit further from last year. When I arrived, we had about 375 people working for us. Obviously, we have optimized the organization, throughout the years, but the improvements, the changes that you see, these days are literally by people retiring or leaving the company, and we don't fill these positions anymore. So we find other ways to cover for their duties. Obviously, we're operating around the clock in 4 shifts, 24/7. We have one single board member, but jointly we work as a team. So we are 6 of us covering operations, finance, technical, HSNE, and human resources and legal. A little bit, as to how things were going this year. In line with what Igor said, on Latrostrans, we see some more challenging, conditions on the product supply side. Obviously, we are just a means for our customers, to facilitate throughput through the tank farm, but we have no direct influence over what's coming our way. But if you look a little bit, as to the yearly volumes, last year we had quite a record for 5 years, doing 12 million tons altogether. The previous year, just about 1 million less. And this year, to date, which is 10 months numbers, we are at 8.3. So I think if you project a little bit, there's only a few weeks left to go. I think over the the next 6 weeks until the end of the year, we see a little bit less than 10 million tons altogether. You would wonder, is it due to the business that we are running, or is it due to the market circumstances which are happening in the market? And I think there's quite a little bit of differences, from the years before that we see this year, which haven't been existent, the previous years. If you look at the Ukraine, for example, that country has been short on light products for most of this year, and as a result, a lot of imports have been taking place, especially from the Belarusian refineries, which historically have come to us, in quite significant numbers. We also see some different pricing, more favorable pricing for customers to sell their products in the Black Sea market. That's also related to euro-dollar exchange rates, which has another effect of products rather being diverted, to the Black Sea than coming, to the Baltics these days. Obviously, that can be temporary, so that might change, but for the time being, in the recent months, this is what we have been seeing. And further, if you follow the results of, what's going to happen or what has been happening in the United States, with the shale oil discoveries that have been, taking place over the year, the U.S. really has changed from a net importer of light products to become a net exporter of light products. These products are now showing up on the European market, which makes, that market much more competitive and also has an influence as to what's coming through, the Baltic states. I mean, that gives you a little bit of a perspective, where things are. It's really from a business point of view, and obviously we are affected by this because, we need to make sure we are, creating the attractiveness for customers to work with us and products to come to us. Really, puts, much more effort and challenge on us to make sure we have a sustainable business in the future. A little bit, as to what we have invested. It's been, less this year, but we have finished pump station number 4, which is part of, another 2 pump stations that we have finished a year earlier. We have, demolished an old railway rack number 1, which is, has been taken out of service, but we did that because we have intentions to rebuild one of the other 3 railway unloading racks that we have in the place of that railway unloading station. And, the engineering is taking place right now. If we manage and everything goes, well, with time, we plan to implement that in the course of next year. Because, as I, briefly touched upon earlier, the railway deliveries are a significant part of the overall, products coming our way. As part of a bigger group, being part of a bigger group or associated to a bigger group of terminals called VTTI, we are really being, audited on a constant basis, and that's not only from a safety perspective, which is of course very important for us, but also from a, IT, security side, from a procurement side. So these audits cover all sides, of the business. And on top of that, of course, we have, governmental audit and state audits, which are taking place on a regular basis. I think it's fair to say we put quite a little bit of effort, to make sure we are properly prepared throughout the year to close out, any recommendation that we might get. And the results that we received, over this year from the various audits are, generally very positive. And I think it's for us internally to recognize that, as we go forward, and that's also a compliment to the people that work for us, I think we get better and better at managing, all these different aspects of our business. Couple of things to mention. We first time this year participated in the Sustainability Index in Latvia. We have decided to do so because it's a good indicator also for ourselves to see where we stand. We came in, being a first-time participant, with a silver award, which I think, great thanks for everybody inside the company for working on that. We have in September signed a cooperation agreement with the Riga Technical University, and I think that's quite an interesting project for us as a company that has, a lot of employees with, lots of experience and long service life. We really also want to bring, newcomers, students, interns, and young professionals to the company. This is going to be quite some focus in the year forward. It needs quite some preparation. So I think together with, with the people at Riga Technical University, this is kind of an effort we want to spend because I think, from that side we have much to offer, and I hope, this will be a very fruitful relationship going forward. And just recently we have been awarded, by the Latvian Employers Confederation with the being the best employer in the Kurzemes region. I think that's also, a good indication that at least, from how we work and the systems that we have in place, we also get an outside reflection of what people think what we're doing. And, I'm very grateful, that we have been recognized for that. And again, this is not my achievement. This is an achievement of all the 286 people that, work at the company. On the financials, I normalized the numbers a little bit because, yes, I took out the extraordinary, events to make it a little bit easier. If you look at the reloading revenue, that's gonna be a little bit down, and that's the effect of the lower throughput that we see this year. If you compare a little bit the first 9 months of last year and this year, you see a slight improvement. If you then look at let's go to the net income, that is for the full year, 7.5. In the quarter, on the 3-quarter basis, slightly improved. And again, there were some extraordinary results that we saw last year, which we don't see, which we might see later in this year, which, might bring this number up a little bit. I think in general, if you look, if you look at, purely, the performance of the company, you still see a gradual improvement, when it comes to the performance of the financial numbers. We have been working on efficiency processes. We have been working on, reducing the paper burden in the company. We have been working on multifunctionality to make, more efficient use of everybody in the company. All this, of course, to one or the other degree can be translated into numbers, which has a positive effect on the performance of the company. The vision and the prospects. That is not an easy one. Every year I'm thinking, how do I determine this, and how successful will I be to really implement that? Again, I think an important one is, I think, we've been a little bit spoiled by the oil market in the recent years, where, there's been a reasonable amount of contango in the market, and products just came, automatically to us. That's not that easy anymore. We really have to work hard also as a terminal to sell ourselves, obviously by being competitive to begin with, but also being a good performer financially, but also making sure, we watch a little bit the surroundings in the Baltics, so, products are not going, into other directions, which we rather don't want to see. So it's gonna be quite a different level of attention going forward. I think the commercial side, making sure we're in good hands and we prepare ourselves for the years to come, that's going to be the key going forward. Despite that, I think we are constantly change-minded. That's within the DNA of all the management and middle management in the company. So changing, and recognizing change as the inevitable. We don't force change, but we identify it, and if we see it, we redo it. And that really happens in all aspects. I mean, we are constantly working still on IT systems. We have a history of being, rather paper heavy. There's lots of improvements to be done, makes things much more efficient. On top of that, more accurately. The flexibility of how we operate. We are a terminal that is 50 years old, so we don't have the freedom to rebuild everything up to the latest standards like a new terminal would be built this year. So we have to live with what we have, but even with what we have a very good foundation. And if you apply a little bit of creativity, you can really improve the flexibility, not by a great margin, but by a significant margin to really give you a little bit more competitive edge, going forward. And multifunctionality has been a big point, in all these years. In operations, we do it. We have combined, while we had different groups for jetty operations, railway operations, and general operations, we combined them in one. That's a good step. So people are able to occupy all of these areas. But the similar approach you can apply to literally every other area, if it makes common sense. And that's kind of, sometimes a difficult process, but it's a rather normal process in this business world. And we're going to work on this, and it will, it will create more meaningful jobs on top of that, and also create more, value for the company. We have been working for 4 years. I think even, this was a topic before I even joined the company on vapor recovery. So it's absolutely nothing new. It's a topic I really would rather not to report on next year again, because it gets, obviously kind of boring. It is an top topic, though. Obviously, environmentally, we have a responsibility. In Western ports, it's quite normal that, companies have to operate with a vapor recovery unit, to reduce emissions. Every oil terminal mostly has it. or they rely on others to provide the service. In Latvia, I think the law is not yet implemented, but it will come. It's just a matter of time. I think this year we've done a lot of groundwork, as to do it. There's different possibilities, doing it on our own, doing it with neighbors or any other. I think next year, it's fair to say I really shall stand here to report that the system is, one system, whatever the shape might be, is going to be up and running and working. Because this is also an agonizing fact for us as a company. Apart from being responsible, it also, has an effect to really develop, as we would like to. So, I think from everybody on our side, but also, my council and the shareholder, there's full commitment really to get this now finally done within the next 12 months. That's about it in very brief words. I think, we're going to collect now all the, questions. If there's anything in particular, just let me know. And I'll try to answer them as good as I can.